Chapter 68. Hyun-Ki's Dilemma. Riel was allowed to leave the hospital and was back to her old place, at the studio apartment. Hyun-Ki looked around Riel's place, and he was unhappy about her present home. Hyun-Ki stared at her lovingly, touched her face, then said, "I could not stand seeing you living in this cramped place, babe. I felt uneasy and upset. What if a thief thought of robbing you, knowing that you're alone? This place was too small, and you could not run away that easy. He cornered you. And then what? Can you lock yourself up in your compact room, where the window is too narrow for you to escape? Before you could climb up, that hollow door have already broke?" Riel flung her hands around Hyun-Ki's neck, smiled, and said, "You're so remarkably thoughtful and protective, babe. That was why I fell in love with you. You always looked after me." Hyun-Ki placed his face close to her and said gently, "I could never let bad things happen to my love. I will always be here for you, sweetheart, and you can always count on and rely on me." Hyun kissed her hands. "Yes, I knew that, but I don't want to leave this place, babe. This was where my independence began, and this was the first time I spent my savings on buying everything you see now. I couldn't just leave them with a flick of a finger, just because you disapproved of my dwelling. I like it here, and I am safe here, Hyun. The neighbors were kind and reliable. They look after my safety, and that goes with security guard too. I don't have any problem living here. That was before the wheelchair incident. And I am unsure how long these dangerous people would be roaming around. They would be a constant threat to you, sweetheart. Could you please listen and consider my worries for you? I am only concerned about your well-being," Hyun explained. Come on, don't be a scaredy cat. I'm all right here," Riel insisted. "And how about your lady bodyguard? There's no space for her here, including your nurse aide. This place is too small." "I have two," Riel cut his words. "I don't need a nurse aide as much as a lady bodyguard anymore. I am fine, Hyun. Let them go home and cut short their duties." "I'm sorry, but I can't manage." Hyun-Ki was stressed, but how he could convince Riel when she was so stubborn. Moreover, her courageous attitude? She fears nothing, and was so brave. She even sacrificed her life for him. Hyun-Ki could only sigh for surrender. "Well then, let us compromise. I will stay here as long as it takes. You could no longer go against my decision. It is final, and I am determined to do so." Riel giggled and gave him a tight hug. "If that's what you want, I won't refuse my knight in shining armor. But you have to put up with this small cramped place of mine. And I don't want to hear any complaints. Do you hear, Mr. CEO?" jested Riel. Hyun-Ki felt relieved. He called the lady bodyguard and the nurse aide, advising them that Riel no longer needed their services. Both agreed pleasantly and left. Then Hyun-Ki called Juni, so he came rushing to Riel's apartment, wondering what his boss would be instructing him to do this time. "Juni, get me some clothes for tomorrow's work and tonight, and tell Rosita to cook dinner for us. I won't be coming home tonight. And by the way, tell one of the maids that I need a duvet as my bed. Also, before coming here tomorrow, bring our breakfast too. Is everything clear to you, Juni?" "Yes, sir. Everything's in control. I'll be going now, sir." Juni cheerfully went his way. That night after dinner, Riel helped Hyun-Ki fix his duvet beside Riel's bed, then decided to shower. "Could you manage?" "I could help you. Let me wash your hair by the sink and give you a shampoo," offered Hyun-Ki. "Would you do that?" Riel asked timidly. "Why not? It is simple, so you won't have difficulty rinsing your hair." "Let me do it for you." Riel walked toward the sink, and Hyun-Ki pulled a chair for her. He carefully held her head over the sink, wet her hair, shampooed it, and then rinsed it. Then he dried it with a towel and wrapped it around her head. As Riel lifted her head, Hyun-Ki met her eyes, and he slowly pressed his lips on her forehead, while Riel closed her eyes to feel his kiss. Then Hyun said, "I could wash you under the shower with me. How about showering with me? It saves us time," Hyun-Ki affectionately offered, and Riel replied, "I would love to, but it might give me a relapse." Then Riel held Hyun's cheeks, pinched them lightly, then harder, and said, "You think you can play me around?" Hyun-Ki didn't seem to be bothered by Riel's pinches, and he pulled her around her waist and kissed her gently. "I missed us, Riel. I miss our romantic moments," Hyun-Ki whispered. "I missed us too, Hyun. Oh, how much I missed you." Riel gave in to Hyun's advances. He pressed his lips to hers, opened her mouth gently, and made their tongues intertwined, and they kissed more, letting time get hold of them. A few hours later, after taking their shower, Riel felt bad for Hyun-Ki because he was lying on the floor in his duvet, and she thought of exchanging places with him. "You're my guest, Hyun, and I don't see you, a wealthy CEO, sleeping on the floor, while I am on this bed. Wasn't it awkward? I won't mind, if I didn't know you as a wealthy guy, not used to this condition. Let me stay there and come lie in my bed," Riel said in an upsetting tone. Hyun-Ki laid his body on the side, his arm under his head, then replied, "So what? If I am a wealthy CEO, I experienced this during my Boy Scout days, Riel, and it was fun. Come, it would be nicer if you lie here with me." He pulled her arm, and Riel fell by his side, and felt his warmth as she lay close to him. Hyun-Ki pulled her closer, and put her head on his arm while his other hand embraced her. Rieler's face was close to his chest, and his scent overwhelmed her. Hyun kissed her forehead, then let her head rest on his arm, and later, both fell asleep. The following morning, Hyun-Ki woke up early. Riel was still lying on his arm, so he slowly moved his arm and placed a pillow under Rieler's head, in place of his arm, then slowly arose and stood by the door, watching Riel, still fast asleep. He smiled, opened the bedroom door, and padded through the living room. He opened the curtain, and saw 3 neighbors sweeping the front yard and watering the plants. It was not an ordinary scene, since he always saw his house staff doing the same thing back home. Then, he caught the eye of a man, from a distance, walking out from the gate. He was casually looking up over Rieler's window, and then rode his Range Rover. It was Akio Hinode. So, Akio was just across this apartment, he thought. Could this be why Riel didn't want to move out? He pondered. While in deep thought, his Mercedes-Benz Sprinter came cruising in, and parked in front of the open gate, and with Junie, was their breakfast. Hyun opened the door as soon as Junie reached Rieler's apartment, so he won't bother knocking, not to wake Riel. Hyun hushed and whispered, "Wait for me in the Sprinter." Hyun-Ki was preparing their meal when Riel got up, hearing the cluttering of the spoons and forks. "Why didn't you wake me up, babe?" Riel asked while walking towards the kitchen, stretching her arm as an exercise. "I hate to ruin your beauty sleep, my queen, but I was supposed to wake you up as soon as I finished preparing our breakfast." "How was your sleep?" "I felt so great, like I had never slept well in 100 years. Maybe because you were with me." Riel took great pride in Hyun-Ki's taking good care of her, and then she wrapped her arms around Hyun and kissed his cheek. Hyun felt humbled by Rieler's dignity of Hyun-Ki's loving attention to her. While having breakfast, Riel suggested she go to the bank and let Mrs. Echeverria know she was ready to work. Hyun was upset and feared Riel might find out she was already fired, as per his directive. Riel was showering when Hyun took the chance to call Mrs. Echeverria. "Good morning, Mrs. Echeverria. Riel will be coming today, to inform you she's coming to work on Monday. Take her back." "But, sir, you already made the directive. That was why I took in a replacement for her. Couldn't you give any position for the new one?" Because Riel would not accept any other position but her former job. Hyun was getting uncomfortable. "Sir, I would want to, but there is no more vacant position to transfer the new one." Mrs. Echeverria was worriedly nervous. "Sir, let me find a way to ease this problem. Although, I cannot promise a good outcome on what will take place in our conversation, I hope you will understand. It would be up to you to think of something to alleviate Rieler's morale." Hyun was still on the phone. His face was worried when Riel came upon him, happily smiling. What's the worried look on your face? You have lost something valuable. What is it, babe?" "Oh? Nothing, and it is just a minor concern." "Well, are you ready to see your boss?" I hope to be back on Monday, and I am excited already." "At last? Goodbye, boredom," Riel remarked enthusiastically. The more Hyun got upset. Will Riel find out that Hyun-Ki messed up with Rieler's work? Keep following the Windows of the Heart series. More exciting episodes are coming. Thank you.